Hi everyone, thanks for joining. We're just going to wait for more people to join and then we'll begin. Okay, just waiting for a few more people to join. Thanks everyone. I hope you had a really good New Year's. Okay, I think that's a good number to start. Hi everyone, Happy New Year and thank you for joining us on the 4th of Jan. We only have 4 months left, so now that we've sorted out your trials, we're really keen to get started on the trial scoping and the commercial support side of things. And that's why we're hosting today's commercial support webinar, so that you can just meet the people who are going to be delivering the key support. Some of you have already kind of indicated you know what support you want, but you may hear someone talk about something today that you haven't asked for, or you haven't been invited to the event that's been set up and you'd actually like to work with them. So that's something that you can tell us once you've seen the webinar. So we are going to hear from WeSprint, who are providing our investment support. Arnold and Anil, PlusX, Aneza and Ben are going to speak to us. GR Consult, that's Gemma Ryans, and from CPC, we've got Sophia speaking to you. This is an official Zoom webinar, so we can't see you all, but there is a question panel. I'm not sure we're going to have time for questions because I've given everyone 15 minutes and that equals an hour. But really, it's best to speak to us about what you've heard today in your one-to-ones later on today with me or Ivan. So that would probably be the best way of kind of saying, oh, I want to work with this provider, or I have questions about what they said on this. So but do use a question panel if you want to. So just briefly, we've got 4 months. We're going to be kicking off our trials now, and some of you we have to wrap up a few details, but basically it starts in January, and we're kicking off the support today with this webinar. You also now have the opportunity to have a one-to-one with a CAA. We have to do that through the Innovation Inbox Gateway, but just speak to us if you do want to speak to the CAA, because we'll tell you exactly how to do that and what to include in your request. In February, we are going to be shortly scheduling a workshop at Coventry University. It's a full-day workshop on integration of urban air mobility. And the partners are also invited to that, and there'll be networking and things as well as the workshop. So it's going to be great, and I'd really encourage you to come to that. Another in-person event is the 3 workshops that I just sent you an invite to yesterday. So the target market and market sizing workshop in the morning of the 13th of Feb. In the afternoon, we've got developing a successful value proposition. And we have on the 14th in the afternoon, building your pricing strategy, all at CPC, all with Sophia, all in person in the basement where we had the welcome day. We haven't got dates from them yet, but we will be having a sort of workshop visit to BAE, and we will have a workshop with BSI that probably will be virtual, but again, we're just figuring out the fine details. In April, we'll have the GKN Bristol site visit, and then we have demo day. I really wanted to tell you where it was going to be today, but it's just not finalized, so I'll be announcing that soon. As you can imagine, Christmas was difficult to kind of get responses from anyone. So yeah, that's my last slide. So I'll stop sharing now and invite WeSprint to spend 15 minutes talking to you. So thank you.
Thanks, Natasha. Hey, Neil. Good to see you again.
Hey, Arnold.
Hey, guys. Well, thank you for having us. I know that we've got a very short little while to tell you a little bit more about ourselves. Myself and Anil have joined from our little agency today. And a little bit about who we are. We used to be a limited partnership amongst sort of, I guess, serial entrepreneurs and people who've been sort of in the business since day dot till today. We decided to form an agency 2 years ago to bring us all together so that we can maybe sort of shed some of the experience that we've got into SMEs in particular spaces. You know, we've got experience across transportation, and that is land and air all the way into space, which is wonderful. And then we've got a load of B2B and B2C consumer hardware and software backgrounds as well. So entrepreneurs first, definitely advisors at its core. And then we also do a bit of angel investment. So Anil, if you just skip on to the next page. Thank you. So yeah, a little bit about what we do as an agency now. We support organizations like CPC and other venture studios and large corporates in helping deliver and design complex programs. And these programs tend to be, how does the public, private, or SME technology providers get closer together and form better relationships? And that could be anything from fundraising all the way through to deployment in heavy infrastructure or critical infrastructure. So we've got a strong focus in sort of that kind of critical infrastructure technology space, which is probably arguably where most of you sit. Apart from that, we also invest. We do this via co-investments. So we are a syndicate of angel investors, and we are angel investors ourselves. And we usually invest in companies at quite an early to mid stage. So that's just sort of a little bit of clarity about how we invest as well. Now over to the next page. Yeah, we haven't just been doing this for a couple of days. It's been quite a long time, and we absolutely love it. But we have so far, you know, got this really nice balance actually between the numbers these days. But we've done well over sort of 300 different individual advisory sessions with 300 different types of SMEs. We've helped raise in forms of finance around just over 300 million. And that's a nice blend between equity and grant funding. And as our own agency for the past 2 years, we've got 8 companies in our portfolio with a net asset of over 200 million, which we're very proud of. And Anil, if you want to jump on to the next slide. Excellent. So a little bit about our advisory. We thought we would take the kind of key topics of the kind of latest trends in the funding landscape and sort of the commercial growth landscape. I know that all of you might be feeling the pressures of how the funding landscape might have changed, and especially when you're in a sort of long gestation style business or heavy R&D style business, it can be even more frustrating planning and sort of thinking about future rounds. Well, we've tried to make this as simplified as possible, and we've broken them into key masterclasses that we deliver. One which we tend to always use right at the beginning of any workshop that we do with an SME is built around something called the bridge model. This is a great way for us as investors, but also as your key advisors, to discover where some maybe hidden potential in the company might lay that could really be kind of replicated in that kind of value proposition that you put forward to stakeholders. Scaling businesses, I'm sure you're all aware, isn't easy. So we've also got a masterclass on something called glass ceilings. Having been there, lived through it, and some of us have actually ended up in court because of this. Talent structure and building your company to be resilient and to be able to kind of cope with those kind of scaling pressures that get put on you by either clients or investors is incredibly important. So we've got really nice ways of navigating and building your talent team to secure a scalable future, and I guess sort of a happy future for all the stakeholders involved in the company as it scales. One of the big topics I know that you'll be doing in this particular program, you know, working with some of the corporate partners, is one of our favorite topics, and that's corporate venturing. We spent many years working with large FTSE 100 style organizations, helping them innovate better. And therefore, we've spent a lot of time between SMEs, large orgs, and also a lot of the public sector too. So we pride ourselves on a lot of experience that we've got in building decent relationships and good growth in that space. And one of our latest projects that Anil and I have been working on with government, sort of central, local, and global, and a lot of SMEs, and that is Project Gaia. And Project Gaia is a new program that we use to scale business internationally, whilst using all the kind of public and private resources available to you. Latest mechanisms such as forming SPVs, which you might have heard in funding rounds, can also be used in sort of building your IP out into new emerging markets. And we've got a nice sort of step-by-step playbook on how you can build your business out that way. And I believe I might have rushed through that, but Anil, if there's anything crucial I might have missed on your side, please step in. But
yeah,
over to Q&A.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just steal a minute of your thunder. I threw this one slide in at the end just to say that we tend to provide somewhat of a full spectrum approach at WeSprint. As Arnold mentioned, we are product founders and tech founders ourselves. So outside of the key masterclass topics that you've seen in that previous slide, we also tend to touch on all the topics on this slide, ranging from like fundraising, intellectual property, technology, business model, networking, and so on. That's kind of all covered within our advisory. But within this program specifically, these are kind of the key masterclass areas.
Thanks, Anil.
That's all good. Right,
cool.
I think, Natasha, I think we've hit the ground running with the 10 minutes.
Great. This works very well for me, and you covered everything, so thank you.
Amazing.
Okay, so can I please welcome Aneza and Ben from PlusX to share your screens next.
Cool.
Thanks, you,
everyone.
Natasha. I feel like I need to maintain this impressive speed now and get through on time. So let me see. Sorry. So there we go. Is that all clear? So yeah, really excited to be here. Thank you, Natasha, and looking forward to meeting you all and kind of getting to know your business better. So quick overview of PlusX and how we can support you. So PlusX is a network of innovation hubs. So we have specialist facilities within our hubs because we're really focused on developing entrepreneurs and innovators. So our spaces are kitted out with things like 3D printers, laser cutters, podcast studios, but really all of the assets that we can provide to help SMEs grow. We also run innovation programs, so bolted on to our spaces. Sometimes we run innovation programs in the space, but also outside of the space. And this is really to kind of provide really tailored, targeted support to accelerate business growth. And we work with businesses of all sizes, from kind of recent graduates with just an idea all the way through to kind of large global corporates with their innovation strategy. And the kind of third thing that's really fundamental to PlusX is collaboration. So that's by us being the convening kind of members to bring together different organizations, from government through to developers, through to SMEs and corporates. So fostering that collaboration kind of within our spaces, within our programs, and really kind of building innovation communities is at the heart of everything we do. So just a kind of snapshot of some of the companies that we have partnered with. As you can see in there, universities we work really closely with, kind of corporates, investors, but just a kind of snapshot to give you a sense. And all of these kind of partner members, we really leverage when it comes to our spaces and also developing our programs and mentorship and coaching. So a quick kind of overview of our impact. So we've supported around 400 startups and SMEs and raised around actually 24 million in grant funding to offer that kind of support to them, no charge. Those companies have gone on to kind of create 1,000 jobs and raise over 140 million. So some stats that we're really proud of being part of. Quick overview of our team. So Matt and Toby are our directors, kind of really feeding into all of our program activity. You might not see them so much, but they'll be kind of influencing from the sidelines. Matt, our co-CEO, started his career in Silicon Valley and has worked in some of the kind of largest design agencies and innovation agencies, so IDEO and Design Council. But they'll be both kind of on the peripherals, supporting with connections and things like that. But this is a team that you'll probably see more frequently. So Ben, who's also on the call, will be kind of program managing and kind of point of contact, and I'm there as well. You've got Jim, who I'll talk about a bit more about the product development support we can offer, but he really brings his kind of entrepreneur background as well as kind of really niche expertise in product and hardware development. And Jamie, who's recently joined us as head of partnerships, whose background spans kind of sales, business development and partnerships. And so that will be really feeding into that element of support as well. And again, a couple of companies that we've kind of come from and have supported over the years. So just a quick rapid run through some of the types of innovation programs that we deliver. So as I mentioned, it's really the spectrum of support from types of companies to also stages. So Future of Air Mobility, you know, we're really excited to be back again after last year and supporting what was a really successful cohort. We probably worked with around mostly 9 of those 11 companies from last year and facilitated around 70 one-to-one kind of introductions with kind of key stakeholders from the industry and investors, and probably another 30 of kind of expert mentors to the group as well. So really excited to be back this year. The London West Innovation District is a consortium we are part of. So one of our spaces is in West London in Hayes. And so they've developed a consortium of corporates in that space who are really driven to kind of fostering innovation, and in particular with the proximity to Heathrow, you know, focused around aviation and kind of logistics. Our kind of corporate program, so we run the Better World Collective, which is really about connecting corporates and sustainable SMEs. So this is where we kind of bridge the conversation on both sides and really get corporates to understand SMEs' needs and be better at collaborating with them, as well as helping SMEs to understand actually the corporate objectives and how they can best sort of prepare for those engagements. And then our central research laboratory, which is the kind of home of our hardware support and really our kind of flagship program. So our accelerator is 6 months with really hands-on kind of product development support, as well as kind of business kind of investment funding support as well. So similar to probably this program. But over to the main kind of details and the few areas that we are going to be providing, offering some support for this program are really around business development and partnerships, industry introductions and product development. So kicking off with business development and partnerships. So there's a whole spectrum of actually themes and topics that we can cover here. And I'll share this slide with Natasha so she can pass it on to you and you can read about these in more detail, but really covering the whole spectrum of the business cycle and the customer the kind of partnership journey. And so the idea with most of these modules is to take quite a bespoke approach. We'll really have one-to-ones, get to know your kind of core needs and priorities for the next 3 to 6 months, and then pair you with a kind of expert mentor who can kind of provide coaching and mentorship to really help upskill you with kind of tools, techniques and confidence when you're approaching kind of building relationships with customers and partners for kind of future success. So we take a very tailored approach and we'll be looking to really kind of dive into your needs and match you with the best mentors possible to kind of equip you with those skills. So these are some of the topics, you know, stakeholder mapping, prospecting, through to contracting and kind of negotiation and skills like that. As I said, I'll share this afterwards so you can dive a little bit more into that. Industry introduction. So this really sort of builds on that first module and is really about helping you kind of find and access the right people and organizations. So again, the way we'll work on this is by kind of understanding and building out a list of those key contacts and key organizations, stakeholders that you would like to connect with. And that's really to help then drive customer insights. So help you develop knowledge around the product offering that you have and kind of building out that product to meet the need. Also connecting you with industry experts who can give you more of that kind of corporate experience and awareness of process and kind of other things that they are kind of looking at and objectives that they face. So really understanding the space there. And kind of any other stakeholders as well for that might be able to connect you to long-term partnerships and other opportunities for tests and pilots. So we'll kind of build out a list of people that you're looking for, as well as working with CPC, you know, the program sponsors, to really access then the network of these kind of vital kind of critical stakeholders and make introductions. We do kind of run this as well in other programs as a kind of event where we kind of curate all those people together and set up those one-to-one meetings, but we'll probably with timelines be working on more of a one-to-one kind of introduction basis for this. And then product development. So this really is quite unique to kind of what we have provided and developed over the last kind of 7 or 8 years. And so we've got an in-house product development team led by Jim Reeves. And so this is really where we can offer deep kind of hands-on support for SMEs. And this is to support design, prototyping, you know, funding related to manufacture and also kind of manufacture at scale. So really the whole spectrum of product development. The support here, again, will be very bespoke and tailored. It will depend on the stage of your business, the capacity you already have within the team. But essentially, it will be kind of devising a plan and a kind of implementation plan with you, following kind of that initial sprint and scoping workshop. So really understanding your goals, and then kind of building out a plan based on that, and having then ongoing sort of product development meetings and review points and kind of working process. So around this as well, the way that we work is very much collaboratively. So we want to leave the program with you feeling kind of equipped and kind of upskilled with, you know, more opportunities for innovation around your product, rather than sort of just handing you a kind of finished piece of work. So it's really about working collaboratively with you or with your tech teams, and depending on, you know, if you have that team in-house or if actually it's just you, you know, it will will design that support around your needs. And at the end, really kind of wrapping up and making sure all of those assets and kind of collateral are handed over to you. So this as well, you kind of be able to read through a bit more detail, send it over, but really kind of touches on a broad spectrum of kind of themes and topics we can support in that area. And that's me, and I hope I haven't run over.
No, you've been great. Thank you
Natasha.
very much, both of you. Really, really interesting. Also jealous that you have that photo from Foam 1. I'm going to need to grab that. I don't
How
have
do you
it.
not have that? I'll send it over.
Yeah, Ben must not have saved it. I don't know. Anyway, thank you. Okay, so we're now going to hear from Gemma Ryans from GR Consult. So Gemma, take it away.
Hi everybody, I'll just share my screen. Hello, hi, thank you for having me. I'm Gemma. I am the founder and director of GR Consult, which is a small communications, engagement and marketing consultancy. A little bit about me. So I'm a specialist in designing and implementing communications, marketing and engagement strategies, both in industry and for early stage businesses. A little bit about my background, because I think it helps shape the service that I offer. Over the years, I've worked across various areas of communications, marketing and engagement. And that's ranged from working with the public on campaigns to generate brand awareness, advocacy, campaigning, through to engagement to motivate people to change behaviours. More and more nowadays, I work in stakeholder engagement. I tend to get booked an awful lot for complex and difficult to navigate stakeholder projects. Earlier on in my career, I held a number of media roles on large-scale infrastructure projects, representing contractors as well as heads of government, and did little stints across various areas of digital communications. So things like content development, social media delivery, and kind of everything that falls into what the public would see from a business as well as from a government or a project. My interest for building that kind of range is, I think, this particularly applies for businesses of any scale, is that no one area of your communications and marketing and what you put out to your audience or the general public works on its own. Everything is integrated. So that's kind of the service that I provide, is looking at the gamut of communications and marketing for your business and shaping that to better engage your customers. So in terms of the support areas that I can look at with you, just listed there briefly, I look at engagement and communications for your business, and that can involve reviewing what you currently have and putting together some recommendations for improvement. Customer acquisition and retention, which I'm going to show an example of in a minute, because really I find this one of the key interest areas for a lot of startup businesses, and it's one of those things that seems quite intangible to put a strategy to. So I'll show that in a moment. Market analysis and value proposition, which is covered in a range of ways. I really look at that from a marketing and a communications point of view. So you may have a great value proposition, but are you communicating that in the best possible way that matches the market and audience and competes well with your competitors and how they're communicating that? Key messaging development, so really, really important, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. Your marketing strategy development, which I'll talk about a bit more. Business identity and brand development. Just while we're here and on this, depending on how far along you are in your journey, your brand and identity may develop, and that can very much be stimulated by the market, your competitors, and your customer challenges. But I think it's an important thing that I look at is that brand and business identity isn't some creative endeavor. Like, I think a lot of people come at it from that angle of business and brand identity is something that we can certainly look at together, which should be clearly shaped by things like the market, where your competitors sit, what makes you unique, what your values are, what your customers want, which comes out with a really critically clear picture that you should be using to then communicate who you are. And then bid writing, proposal development, and client communications. So a couple of examples, just because I think showing how this practically works with other SMEs is really helpful, and takes away a little bit of the jargon of business marketing. So something like you're seeing at the moment is a audience and customer journey model that I've done on another CPC program with a startup. I think customer acquisition is actually very, very methodical, and building a model like this can be very, very helpful for a lot of businesses. When you're looking at things like lead generation, there's a process that you take your leads through, and that process is mapped out there, which goes through, as I've laid it out, a process of brand awareness, getting to know your business, engaging with you, being educated about who you are, establishing credibility, building trust, and that warms up your audience to being ready for you to sell and for them to convert to customers. And this can be mapped to your own trajectory as a business. So just a little kind of example there of what it can look like, and this can be shaped for you, but that's a kind of activity that I find is very, very helpful for a lot of businesses. This one here is a bit of a customer mapping exercise, which really fits into a lot of the brand and identity work that I do as well. So this kind of activity is really helpful for mapping out who your kind of customer groups are, and then breaking that down a little bit further, which is customer segmentation. And from there, being able to identify specific challenges that your customers are facing, and therefore being able to meet them a little bit better. The other thing it can be really helpful for is depending on what kind of selling efforts you're going for, whether you want to drill in on a limited group of potential customers, or whether you're going a bit wider in terms of brand awareness and taking a larger group through that journey that I showed you a moment ago. Just while we're on this, so customer mapping, paired with things like your competitor analysis, looking at who you are as a business and what makes you unique, can be really helpful for that brand identity piece, but also helping you to articulate clearly your product and service, which I think is hugely important, and I do a lot of work with SMEs on. Once you're clearly articulating your product and service, you've done the baseline thing. The next thing that we want to look at is how you generate the kind of social, intellectual, and emotional response in the customers and your wider audience to stimulate them essentially to buy your product. So that's another area we can have a look at together. And then marketing strategy, which is really, really broad. And when I look at this, what I try to do is pull out all the different areas that you can invest your spend in when it comes to your marketing strategy. When I look at spend, I look at how much cash you can inject if you're lucky enough, but also the time and energy you have, because as a startup business, I know it's very, very difficult to spend time on things like marketing. For the industry that we're looking at, things like engagement with those key stakeholders may be more important than things like optimizing your website to be prioritized on a Google search. And going through a marketing strategy exercise can be really helpful for pulling out what areas are better to prioritize over others. And so just there, looking at things like your brand awareness, your lead generation exercises, in terms of networking and getting, shaking hands with the right people, getting in front of the right audiences, looking at your associations and memberships, events and awards, and getting the balance right in terms of your strategy. Depending on how far along you are in your journey, we can also look at things like how much your investment is, what your return on investment is, how to trial and test some things that you might not have thought to do before, but you want to give it a go and see if it does generate returns for you. And also the multiple marketing metrics that are out there that even I find frustrating, but we can have a look at that together if that is something you're interested in as well. So just there are the kind of areas that I've just spoken through, mapped out. I just want to talk a little bit about how we can work together. So very much like the other two support people on this cohort, I tend to, well, I really only work by getting to know your business. And really, I think about when we work together is I get to be your kind of like communications, head of communications, head of marketing for a really short period of time, and to do as much as I can with that position as possible. So I get to know your business as well as I can. If you have set challenges in mind, that's absolutely fantastic and we can work on those. But I'd also say, if you don't know what your challenges are or where to start with marketing and communications, or what good content looks like to start putting out on your social media channels, I can identify that for you. And I find that that can also be just a really helpful exercise if you let me have a crack at having a look at what you're doing at the moment and pulling together some challenges for you. So that's pretty much it. I don't know if I've been as fast as everyone else, but I've given it a good go. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I clearly need to create some sort of award this weekend because everyone's trying to compete with each other. Thank you very much, Gemma. Really thorough and interesting. So now I'd like to welcome Sophia from CBC to talk about the 3 workshops that I popped in your diary yesterday, and what her expertise are and what she's going to be covering. Thank you, Sophia.
Brilliant. Thank you, Natasha. Just going to please share my screen. There we go. Yeah, hello. And yeah, I guess welcome everyone to Future of Air Mobility Accelerator Program. It's kind of exciting as well, just to see the second cohort after helping out with the first. But actually, before we get into that, seeing as everyone's giving a bit of a background, I can share that too. I won't dive into the details of Connected Places Catapult. I'm sure you're very aware of what we do now and who we are. But in terms of who am I? Well, I'm Sophia Luisi. I'm an innovation business analyst here at CBC, which means I work under the business modeling and market appraisal team. And so who are we? What do we do? Essentially, the business modeling team is here to help provide you with the right tools and techniques to gain market insight, and potentially conduct analysis yourselves to demonstrate the size of your commercial opportunity. What we also are here to do is we're here to help you. You're the innovators. But what we do is we want to help you understand and meet the needs of the market in order to better develop a sustainable and scalable business model. So what's the point, I guess, in this program? I'll be here to give you an opportunity to think about a range of things which you can see before you. So looking at the market, potentially your customers, reviewing your product and business. But the aim is for you all to think about this stuff potentially together in a collaborative manner. And I'm glad that we've heard this term collaborative many times now in this call, in this webinar rather. It's what we're hoping to achieve is having you all as a cohort. There's a lot you can learn from each other, and we want to use this as an opportunity to bring some of you all together to do that. So how do we do that exactly? Well, we'll work with you and your ideas in order to understand exactly kind of what the market looks like, what the commercial opportunity is, and we do that by helping you refresh some of the skills that you have or learn them if you don't have them. But that will be through a couple of interactive sessions. And when I say interactive, they'll be physically interactive, so they will be in-person workshops. And the idea is we'll provide some theory, case studies, examples, and experience to work through and help you run a couple of exercises to essentially learn those skills in order to be able to conduct them yourselves. Another opportunity here is to actually challenge some of your understanding of the market, given that there are various solutions, but yeah, the idea is actually you may be solving very similar problems. So what we like to do in this Future of Air Mobility Accelerator Program is conduct peer reviews during these physical workshops. And then finally, what we hope you'll achieve is better develop and understand more about what your design market's needs are and what they're, and differentiate between their needs and their desires. So let's dive into the workshops in a bit more detail. So given some of the discussions we've had and the applications that came through, we've kind of narrowed down 3 key areas that we think the cohort will really benefit from. So we propose these 3 workshops. So in the first, you'll gain support with identifying your target market and then learn how to appropriately estimate the market size. And then the second will focus on developing a successful value proposition based on the desired outcomes of your key stakeholders. And then finally, we'll have a third workshop that will look at how you go about building an effective pricing strategy. So the first will take place on the 13th of February in the morning. As Natasha previously mentioned, this will take place in the same auditorium space as the welcome day. But the different thing here is it'll be a workshop where we'll have sessions where you guys will actually get to break out and work in your own rooms for a while before we reconvene to conduct the peer reviews. So this particular session will focus on learning how to select the best target market segments for your solution. And then we'll be able to review some of the decisions you've made so far, as well as learn how to develop those high-level market size estimates based on a range of drivers, which you'll either have already identified or we can identify in this session together. Ultimately, what we're trying to achieve with this session is learn how to conduct various types of market sizing approaches, how to actually go about identifying them. And the great thing here is we have a bespoke tool that you'll be able to use. It is digital, so you may need to bring a laptop with you, but we can share that with you in this session. And you'll get to, hopefully by the end of that workshop, learn how to conduct your own market size. The second session will focus on developing a successful value proposition. So using very similar tool, it will be the same sort of process. It's very much a collaborative workshop conducted on the very same day, but except this will be an afternoon session. But the idea here is we want you to learn how to measure your potential beneficial impact of your solution, and then figure out how do you actually synthesize that into a single value proposition statement, which will ultimately encompass the true value of your offering based on your understanding of what the market size is, who your actual target market is, and the specific segments that you're looking at, as well as developing this value proposition statement based on your key stakeholder outcomes. So this one fairly straightforward. Then the third one, last but not least, will take place the following day. So that's on the 14th of February in the afternoon. So this session will focus on introducing you to various models when it comes to creating a pricing strategy. And then we'll go through a couple of examples of what good pricing strategies look like versus bad. Make sure we don't make the same mistakes. And then how do you go about actually deciding which one's the best for your solution? Now, in this particular workshop, we'll be focusing on outcome-based revenue models. But if you don't know what that is, then I highly recommend you attend and we can teach you then. But this session will be slightly different. So there may not be as many peer review exercise, given that it is pricing, maybe somewhat sensitive. But it will be an interactive session with plenty of discussion, with an opportunity to actually review your own if you would like. So that's pretty much it for the three workshops. They have been sent out, the invitations have been sent out for these. So it's been sent out to those who have previously expressed an interest in gaining the support. If you've now seen this and are interested, please do contact Natasha and she can forward you the invitation. I should also add that whilst this is a business modeling support, my personal background is in aerospace engineering, robotics and drone market landscaping, as well as a bit of digital experience. So if you do have any questions or would like some support in any of those other areas, I'm happy to help if I can. And that's all from me. So I guess, Natasha, you do have some time to answer questions.
Yeah, my wishes came true. Thank you so much, Sophia. I definitely didn't think we'd have time for questions. So I think all of the SMEs have been able to come today. So thank you, all of you for coming. Do you have questions for any of the people who have spoken today now, for the group to hear the answer? And alternatively, we can always have a chat about it in person on our calls later today. So if you do have a question, just use the Q&A box. Or I think you can send a message to me and I can actually allow you to speak and ask with your voice. Oh, Chris Daniels, thank you. For +X, I see locations are in Brighton and West London. Are any others planned? Aneza?
Yeah, sure. Hi, Chris. Yes, we have others in the pipeline. So we've got an ambitious goal to grow to around 25 locations across the UK in the next 5 years. And at the moment, there are a few conversations that are closer, but I think with the kind of property developer market, some of those have slowed down. But yes, we're anticipating to have some new sites within the next year and kind of growing steadily all over the UK. But for now, we're in Hayes in West London and then Moulscombe, the Moulscombe area in Brighton. So yeah, as well in terms of our support and particularly the peak product development support, you know, we're very happy and actually encourage any of the founders that are working with our product development team to kind of come into the space and work with them when you can. You know, it's always conducive when you're in person. You can kind of, you know, get more done and sort of bounce more ideas. And so that could be a nice way of working if that's feasible for you also.
Thank you. No other questions have come in. I'm gonna, oh, and another question is coming from Chris. So thanks, Chris. If anybody else has any questions, just type them in while we're talking. My other question is around how all these offers from different firms fit into the program. Are all the options part of the program, or do we need to spend time and money separately with more? Okay, so sorry if that wasn't clear. We are funding the support, but what we did last year is we gave everybody the same support. And while some people obviously benefited from everything, there were other people that felt that they could use some more bespoke support. So this year we're providing SMEs with the support they need and not the support they don't need. And we're providing it in a little bit more one-to-one way, a little bit more interactive way. So all of the people who've spoken to you today, they're talking about all the things they can do. You've told us what you want. Now's the opportunity to say, oh, actually, I didn't mention this, but I do want that. And we will work with our budget to see how we can provide you with the support you actually need. But we are funding all of this, and me and Ivan will sort it for you. That is what the program is. Chris, I hope that was clear. If it's not, do type another question in. No other questions have come through. I'll wait a few minutes, but clear, great. Okay. I don't think anyone else has any questions, but we'll speak to you guys later in person. So really appreciate you taking the time to join right at the kickoff of Jan. So thank you, and we'll speak to you later today and this week. Bye bye.
Bye, Natasha. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, Natasha.
Bye. Thank
Bye,
you,
everyone.
speakers.
Take care.
Really
Bye.
appreciate your time. Bye.